Ring of Combat 80 goes down on May 12th at Atlantic City, New Jersey at the Tropicana. And my next guest will be on that card. He joins me right now, Mr. Billy Markle. Billy, welcome back, man. Long time no see.
Long time no see. It's been a hot minute. I feel like I'm a very reoccurring guest in Mom's Basement. I'm very grateful for that. It's no one I like talking to more than you, so it's always a good time, you know.
Right. Well, we had to do this. It's always an honor. It's always a pleasure to have you back. And you know what? We're going to go right into the heavy shit right away with you. CFFC 116. That was back in December. I know we didn't get the result for this, and there are a few things I have circled I wanted to ask you about. First, preface it by saying you missed weight last time. You're a guy that doesn't miss weight. You're a guy that makes the weight all the time. And I had a bunch of questions in my head leading up to this when after the weigh-ins and stuff. I was like, I wonder if he got hurt. I wonder if there's something that's going on with him that he didn't say. So just kind of like not even so much the fight, but everything leading up to the fight. What happened?
I'm not an excuse guy, and like I will give all credit to my opponent. He was a better man that night. He beat me fair and square. I definitely was not my best going into that fight, and I definitely a lot of things did not go as planned leading into that fight. And it is what it is, and you live and you learn. And I definitely wasn't feeling my best leading into the fight. I wasn't feeling my best like before the fight. After the fight, obviously, was not feeling my best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so very upset with how everything went down. And even I give him credit for taking the fight, even though I did miss weight. Um, a lot of people wouldn't do that, and it takes a lot of credit and it takes a lot of balls to do that. And yeah, it wasn't my night, and shit happens. And definitely was not my best going into the fight.
For was it just a bad cut? Is that what happened? Like,
A lot of stuff where it's like I feel like
well, let's not
I
disclose
wasn't.
state secrets, but at the same time, is there something you can talk about, or you would feel comfortable sharing about a factor that?
Um, I I think I just shouldn't have taken the fight when I did. Like I kind of got the contract like 4 weeks before the fight, and I'm not using that as like an excuse. I probably shouldn't have taken the fight when I did, and I think that played a lot of factors into it. I wouldn't say I was injured, but I definitely wasn't there was definitely some situations that happened before the fight
Mhm.
that maybe should have been like red flags that like maybe we should take a step back. And then I should probably shouldn't have taken that fight at that point in my life and my career. And just like kind of how we were talking about earlier, like off camera, we were talking about fighters and egos, and my ego probably played a little bit too much into me taking that fight when I probably shouldn't have.
You go into the fight. Walk me through it. I know you've watched it a million times, but like, what are the things that you see when you go back and you look at it?
Yeah, I think and all credit to him. He landed the like first right hand that he landed the fight, my whole left eye like swelled up. And normally, like I'm a mixed martial artist. Like I feel comfortable striking, but I also feel comfortable grappling. And I've had that happen to me in previous fights. And usually the smarter thing to do in a situation like that is to shoot. And I don't know why, just my again, maybe it was my ego. I don't know. I just wasn't shooting. I was like, I'm still gonna just gunsling it out, which normally, well, I shouldn't say normally. I have had been in situations like that before, and I would shoot and I would grapple because one eye fighting like that isn't the best situation, especially when it comes to striking. But I just didn't, and I paid the consequences for that. It was my mistakes. I should have fought better. I should have done things differently. And it was definitely every time I've rewatched it, it was the first right hand. It was like, boom, this whole eye just swelled up, and it was like not a good moment to be in my career. It wasn't a good moment to be me in the cage at that point in time, you know?
No one ever really goes into a fight thinking it's not gonna like go work out for them, right? Like nobody plans on being at a 500 record like with two pro fights, and nobody plans that. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I feel like that's like the first like period of adversity. Like everyone, I think most people know like we don't admit it, right? But like most people think like, hey, listen, man, I'm gonna go like 15 and 0, 100%, right? And no one
Mm-hmm.
plans like on dropping an L. But I think most of us kind of know in the back of our minds, like, hey, this guy over here, he's really good, but eventually he will lose. But we just don't plan on like
Mm-hmm.
taking an L very relatively early on in our career. I don't think any one of you all do. You take this L in your second pro fight, not what you anticipate. It's very easy to like go into a really dark place when you don't get that result. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was the key to like breaking out of the fog? Like, at what point do you just kind of like accept it for what it was and move on and get better?
I think it was really just I had to give it a few weeks. And once I got back in the gym, I wasn't out of the gym for long, but like once I got back in the gym and kind of just like me and my coaches game planning for my next fight, like even like we were talking about fighting earlier in this current card, which obviously didn't happen. But once we started game planning to look at the future, and I've said this before in like previous, I think it was with me and you when last time I was on here, where not even no, it might have been the time before that. It was before my pro debut. I've lost as an amateur before,
Mhm.
I've never thought of myself even when I won my pro debut as like a truly undefeated fighter. Whereas like I've lost before. I got finished my Amy debut. Like went out there thinking that I was the man and I was going to be 15-0, and I went out there and I got finished in the third round, and it was part of the game. And that took me a long time. Like that took me a long time to deal with it. And once I dealt with that, I kind of feel like I'm never going to be a truly like I was never truly undefeated. I lost my first Amy fight. I always drew inspiration from like Hen Barrow, for instance. Like Hen Barrow lost his first pro fight and then went on a crazy streak. I mean, maybe drug testing had something to do with that, but I always drew inspiration from that. Even as an Amy, where I was like, he lost his first fight ever, and then he went on to win like 27 fights in a row after that. And all my favorite fighters have losses. There's not like I am a big Habib guy. I'm not gonna say all my favorite fighters, but like GSP's lost. I'm a big GSP guy. I
Mhm.
love Max Holloway. Max Holloway's lost. Usman, he's lost. All my favorite fighters have lost, and I've always drawn inspiration from that too. Where I know that this is one of those games that's like it's very hard, like to go out of it without losing. And it definitely sucked, and it definitely still does suck. Where I still think about it, and I get like upset, and I get disappointed in myself, and I just know I'm better than what I showed that night, and I just want to be better than that.
Running this podcast is a ton of work. That's why I like to unwind. I like to have a couple beers. I like to have a glass of wine or two every once in a while. It doesn't take much of it to make me feel like trash the next day. Headaches, upset stomach. We've all been there. It's the worst. Your weekend is completely ruined. That is why my go to is pregame. It is a revolutionary elixir from my friends at Vitali Boost. One scoop with a glass of water before you indulge and another before you go to bed is the only investment you need to make to be on track for a productive next day. It's not just for drinkers. Fighters love it too. After hitting the scales, I know what you do. You go and you grab a sports drink or you grab something else to get you the electrolytes that you need. I personally know some fighters who use this as their go to coming off the scales because they want the electrolytes without the sugar, the artificial flavors, or any of the other garbage that you'll find in other products. Go to vitaliboost.com and use my code basement at checkout to let them know that I sent you. You'll get a discount for your trouble. You've got nothing to lose. It's a 60-day money back guarantee, and we ship this stuff worldwide. Check it out. The link for this is in the description. I know you're going to love it. After the fight, after that transpires, you take some time off, the calendar flips over to 2023. What was the game? What was your timetable? Like, you already kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, saying like the plan was to kind of like go in relatively soon. Typically, after like a fight like that, I would expect like a 6 to even 9 month layoff. You're coming into this 5 months after the fact, roughly. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
that means to me that obviously you've been putting in work, and probably most importantly, like, you're healthy. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, was that something you wanted to kind of get back right away? Were there things that you wanted to work on prior to this upcoming bout? Walk me through your timing on this. Why is the time right now?
I think right now is a good time. Like me personally, I wanted right now. I've had like my coaches and like other promotions reach out about like earlier events, like March, March, April, and I thought May was like a fine time for me because I want to stay active. I've always wanted to stay active, and I'm 26 years old. Like I'm not old, but I'm not young. So and I am healthy. So I've wanted to like get back in there, not like right away. But I wanted to get back like around now, like May. And then because I still want to like this is gonna be my fourth fight in one calendar year now. Once this fight happens, and I want to stay active. Like I would like to fight another like 2 to 3 more times by like the end of this year. So I couldn't take too much time off. But like when like people and other promotions and like people were talking about fighting, like, oh, how about March? I was like, March is way too soon for me, big guy. Like maybe May. Like even like I was talking about like late to mid-April, but like May is like the prime time for me, I think, because it's like I can fight now, I can still fight during the summer, and I could try to get like another fight in the fall, late winter. 'Cause I would like to stay active. I'd like to fight like 3 to 4 times a year just going forward. So I get signed to like a major promotion and something like that.
Well, the first things first, we got a tough opponent coming up. I hope I can pronounce his name correctly. Ahmed Kamis.
Mhm.
Um, that's the person that you'll be fighting. He has a 1-1 record. From the brief amount of homework I've done on this guy, he's very young, but he has a deceptive amount of experience. Go on his Tapology. You see a pretty long and impressive amateur career. It's more impressive to me because he took a lot of those fights as a really young guy. Now here he is at 23 years old. He's not even close to his athletic prime yet. Not to say you are either, but in any event, he's coming into this with a lot of experience. He lost his debut against a split decision. It's a shitty way to lose. So this guy arguably
Mhm.
could be a 2-0 guy on any different night. So tell me, like, what is it about this guy that makes him a good fighter in your opinion?
I think he's game. Like, I think he's a tough guy. I think he's willing to come forward. I think he's very technical. Like, he likes to read and react a little bit. He's not just there to bang it out. And he has a lot of experience between MMA, boxing, kickboxing. And I'm very excited to go out there. I'm very excited that we're both 1-1, even though like he could arguably be 2-0. And I'm excited just to go out there and prove that I'm the better fighter of that night and improve my record. And I'm going to be the one leaving there 2-1. And it is what it is. And it's like, he's a tough guy. He's willing to take the fight. He's willing to come up here and fight me. I think he's from South Carolina, North Carolina, one of the Carolinas. And I give him a lot of credit for that and all respect to him. But I'm looking forward to going out there and getting a win and getting back in the win column. Getting back in the win column is very big for me where I'm at in my life, in my career. And I'm very excited to get out there and do the damn thing.
I'm gonna ask. This is kind of like a Ariel Hawani shithead esque kind of question, but we're friends, so I can ask it. The question,
Ask away.
the question is simply this: your opponent Ahmed, he's going to go into Fight Pass. He's already seen that fight. He looked at your most recent fight. He saw what your
Hmm.
opponent did, and he's taking notes. Like, okay, I like this. Oh, he doesn't like this. Okay, so if he chose out and he tries to emulate your last opponent, why is that game plan? Why is that strategy not going to work?
Because I still think, and all credit to my last opponent and all credit to my last fight, I just think I'm better than what I showed that night. And all credit to him, all credit to my next opponent. I just think I did not show what I'm truly capable of that night. And if he does go out there and tries to show the same exact thing, I'm gonna have a different response, and he's not gonna like it, and I will be a different fighter.
Okay, perfect. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I never ask questions about the game plan of the fighter that I'm interviewing, but at the same time, I am comfortable asking you stylistically when you put up your game and all the things I know that you can do really well, and you look at your opponent. You already mentioned some of his striking prowess. We know that he's had a pretty good success finishing fights as an amateur. What are some things about your game that you feel you have an advantage over your opponent against? Like, do you feel like your wrestling and grappling are like levels above his? Like, where would you say your biggest strengths are going into this fight, or biggest advantages maybe?
I think I can outstrike him. I think I can 100% outstrike him, and I do think I have far superior jiu-jitsu. Like I think my jiu-jitsu game is very underrated just because I don't even as an AMI, I don't get to show my jiu-jitsu game as much as I would like to. But even like my pro debut, where it's like I get taken down, I'm throwing up triangles. When I fought for CFFC as an AMI, I get taken down, I'm throwing up umaplatas, I'm rolling things out. I'm definitely more of a striker by nature for sure. But I do think that if he does shoot on me and if he tries to grapple me, I think my jiu-jitsu is definitely a clear advantage for me going into the fight. And then even striking wise, where it's like I think he's more of a striker most of the time from what I've seen of his. And if he wants to strike with me, I think I can outstrike him. And I think no matter where it goes, I really feel comfortable where it's like if I take him down, I'm comfortable on top. If it stays standing, I think I can outstrike him. If he takes me down, I think that would be a bad move on his part.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens at Ring of Combat. That will be taking place next week. It's right around the corner. Are you selling tickets still? How can people watch your fight?
I am not exactly sure how it's being streamed just yet, just because Ring Combat has switched up like how they stream fights a few times now. Um, I'm still selling tickets for until the week of the fight, pretty much. I will be selling tickets around, and it will be streamed somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be streamed just yet. People have asked me. I'm not exactly sure how they're doing it just yet. But once they do, I will post it on Facebook, Instagram, social media, all platforms I have access to. But yeah.
I'd be remiss to not ask you this question because we've got a big fight happening in your weight class. Henry Cejudo's going up against Aljo. I have to talk about this MMA fight with you because it's your weight class. I have to ask, what do you think about this upcoming matchup? Who do you got on this one?
I think this is a great fight. Like I'm actually very excited for this card, and it's right in New Jersey. I think it's who shows up that night type of fight. I think Cejudo does have the advantage in wrestling, but I think Aljo has the advantage when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Like I think Aljo has a very underrated overall jiu-jitsu game, especially for a wrestler. And then striking wise, it's kind of a toss up where it's like Aljo has showed a lot of funk in his striking. Like he should like Funk Master, come
That's
on.
right.
But like spinning back fists, kicks from all angles, throwing a bunch of kicks versus Cejudo has showed as a flyweight, like he comes out karate stance Cejudo sometimes. He throws jabs, kicks. He not like Rock Dominic Cruz and finishes him. TJ Dillashaw finishes him on the feet too. So I do think it's a very toss up of a fight, and I really think it's who shows up that night. I do give advantage wrestling wise to Cejudo. I do give a jiu-jitsu advantage to Aljo. And then I think striking is kind of like again, who shows up that night? Like who's gonna play their game a little bit better that night? I think Aljo's the bigger guy. I think Aljo's a bigger 135er than Cejudo for sure. But Cejudo, I one thing that I've been talking about this a lot. I think his mindset is very and his fight IQ is very well. And Cejudo's just a winner by nature. Like he's such a competitive person that's like so hard for him to lose. And his only two losses are DJ, the one fight, and then Joseph Benavidez and I'm a big Joseph Benavidez guy, but the
But
fight that he lost against Joseph Benavidez was a point deduction loss. Like if he didn't get the point deducted, he wouldn't have lost the fight. And even then, it was still like I remember watching that fight live and being very nervous for Joseph Benavidez because again, big Joe Bro guy. But I do think it's a very toss up of a fight.
sounds like you're leaning towards Cejudo, though.
I guess I would probably say 60-40 Cejudo just because like I do think Cejudo just has like a mental edge against most opponents, you know. But I if Aljo pulled off a sub, would not be surprised at all. If he subbed him, if he was able to stick and move and keep it standing, wouldn't be surprised. But also, if Cejudo came out, rocked Aljo on the feet, ground and pounded him, wouldn't be surprised either. I would probably say 60-40 Cejudo, 60-40 Aljo, you know?
So there you go. You hear it from you hear it directly from Billy. Do with that information what you will before you place your bets. And I wanted to give you the final word, sir. If there's anyone that you need to thank or any sponsors or whatever that you need to talk about, let's do it.
I always shout out all my gyms, Street Combat Academy, Catone MMA, Shorty Rock Santella, Short Rock Jiu Jitsu, and Fit Food New Jersey is my one of my biggest sponsors. Are always with me, and I have a bunch of sponsors from like Homedale Physical Therapy, Star Carpet Cleaning. They all treat me very well, and I'm very grateful to have them in my life. And I wouldn't be where I am in my career without them.
All right, perfect. Well, Billy, I wish you the best of luck. I look forward to having you back very, very soon, my friend.
Boom! Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, brother.